The studies say that the reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction, RT-PCR, is the main and gold standard test for detecting SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. However, there are numerous problems that RT-PCR possess, such as false positive. In July 2020, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the director of the U.S. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, was a guest in a science podcast hosted by Vincent Racagnelo. They have talked about the PCR test and how a positive test using a cycle threshold of greater than 35 is essentially worthless.
Again, a good question. And what is now sort of evolving into a bit of a standard that if you get a cycle threshold of 35 or more, that the chances of it being replication competent are minuscule. So that if somebody, and we have patients, and it's very frustrating for the patients as well as for the physicians. Somebody comes in and they repeat their PCR and it's like 37 cycle threshold. But you almost never can culture virus from a 37 threshold cycle. So I think if somebody does come in with 37, 38, even 36, you got to say, it's just dead nucleotides, period.
Positive or negative? Okay, good.
Yeah. I mean, if when you go in, when I get my test, it's negative. When someone comes in and it's positive, they don't give them the threshold until you go back and ask for it.
Okay.
During their discussion, Fauci believes that many patients may have been receiving false positive test results. He acknowledged that large numbers of positive COVID-19 cases may arise from oversensitive tests that pick up mere fragments of the virus rather than active viable infections. During that time, the US was routinely using 42 to 45 CT value. In August 2020, the New York Times released an article about COVID test results entitled, "Your coronavirus test is positive. Maybe it shouldn't be." It stated that the standard tests are diagnosing huge numbers of people who may be carrying relatively insignificant amount of the virus. In the article, it was said that the officials in Massachusetts, New York, and Nevada compiled in 3 sets of testing data that include cycle thresholds and reviewed that up to 90% of people testing positive carried barely any virus. Most tests set the limit at 40, a few at 37. Dr. Michael Mina, an epidemiologist and assistant professor at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, said in the article that, quote-unquote, tests with thresholds so high may detect not just live virus, but also genetic fragments, leftovers from infection that pose no particular risk. Therefore, the positive test result from a PCR test without additional information about viral load cannot be used to determine whether an infected person should self-isolate or their contacts should be traced. I am Lovely Montoya of Manila STV.